And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and welcome to Dreamy Dreamland wherever you are. How you doing, y'all? And having a Sunday breakfast, and just had my yummy omelet, with gravy and a biscuit. Drinking coffee now. So what's next? Here's something from Jimmy Dore. Jimmy's always good.
Now than normal. There's more people dying now than normal. In the UK, 1,300 more people a week are dying than normal, and they don't know why. Now, you know what the conspiracy theorists are saying. I don't think I can say it on this channel. But keep in mind, as far as COVID goes, I think the conspiracy theorists are about 5-0. And the people who have been lying have been Fauci and the government and the corporate media. It's captured by Big Pharma. So the liars here have been the usual suspects, the people in government, the people in corporations, and the people surrounding all that money. Non-COVID excess deaths, why are they rising? So I'm going to play a little bit of John Campbell. You know me, I like this guy, Dr. John Campbell. And he taught nurses how to be nurses for his whole life. And so this guy knows a lot about a lot. And here's what he says.
Well, welcome to today's talk, Wednesday, the 6th of July. We're looking at excess mortality. Now, basically, it's about 1,300 too many people per week dying in England and Wales at the moment. We don't know why. It is not COVID-related. People are dying much more than we would expect based on previous years' averages. And I'm going to be giving evidence that suggests this is not just a UK phenomenon, this is an international phenomenon. But we've got good quality data from the UK.
So it's happening all around the world. More people are dying in every country, in every neighborhood, than they normally would have before COVID. What changed? Well, let's look.
Where I want to look. So that's what this is about. We'll be giving some reasons why this might be happening. And I'll think a little bit about what we need to do about it as well. But it is definitely happening. There's been anecdotal reports about footballers and people having heart attacks, but this is definite statistical data now, so we can be sure about this evidence that we're about to give.
So he's talking about, we've all seen the videos of soccer players just collapsing with heart attacks. And apparently we never saw that before. I never saw people talk about that before.
I've never heard of that before.
I've never ever heard of that before. Well, I did. There was that Hank Gathers, who was a top draft for the Boston Celtics. He had a heart attack playing basketball, but they blamed that
basketball.
They blamed that on cocaine. But
how could soccer get you that excited? You have a heart attack. Basketball, yeah.
I'm not sure if that was his name.
No, it was
Len Bias. It was Len Bias, not Hank Gathers. That's a different guy. Len Bias. That's who it was. Thanks. Yeah.
So hundreds more people are dying per week in England and Wales than usual, and it's not from COVID. Here's the national statistics. COVID deaths for the UK, week of the 24th of June ending, 246 people died from COVID. Not all of those from COVID, some of those with COVID. 17th of June, it was 309. The total deaths registered in the UK were 12,278. This is the key thing. This is nearly 16% above the 5-year average.
So they take an average every 5 years of how many, they take the number of how many people are dying on average each year. And this year, we have almost 60% more people are dying on average in the UK.
So way more people are dying than we would expect based on the previous 5 years. Way more than we would expect. What is going on here?
Well, the conspiracy theorists say it's from the Bernie. And let's see, is it?
More people are dying. This is quite a big concern. 16%, 15.9% more people than we would expect this week, this time of year, based on previous years, not COVID related. Latest breakdown for England and Wales we have here. So the excess deaths more than we would expect, 1,540. COVID deaths, 285. About 6% of the COVID deaths gave COVID as the underlying cause. So 166 from COVID and 119 were with COVID. So basically, of this 285, quite a lot of those were basically incidental recordings on the death certificate. So if we take non-COVID excess deaths at 1,540, take away the COVID deaths, that means that the excess deaths that are not due to COVID are 1,374. So these are excess deaths that are not due to COVID. This is too many to be a statistical artifact. This is a genuine effect. Let's just look at a couple of graphics. Here we see the excess deaths. The black line there, the black marks there are what we would expect. Of course, this is going to vary depending on the time of year. But obviously, we see in the COVID spikes way more deaths due to COVID as we would expect. The dark blue are the deaths due to COVID. But now we actually see that the deaths are above the 5-year average, but not attributable to COVID. Here's a bit of a blow up of that. So COVID, the deaths there in blue, all the non-COVID deaths are in green, and we see that these are above the 5-year average. And only a small proportion of those are due to COVID. Only the blue bit is due to COVID. This one here, where the deaths are below the 5-year average.
Okay.
Bank holiday.
I think it gets you.
Unfortunately,
He's not getting really to the picture, but bottom line is here we are, 5 minutes and 55 seconds into the show. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Welcome to Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Bob. And so, what's going on? What's next, right? So, I've been talking about the big spike for the last 3 years. A good year and a half before we even got into COVID. So, and right now, Russia's about to cut off the Nord Stream pipeline. And that's like basically 40 to 60% of all the heating for Europe, right? Some countries like Hungary and Germany are really dependent on it, others not so much. But Italy is having an economic meltdown because, they were basket case to begin with, but when things were rosy, you could hide all that corruption, etc. But now not so much. It's like me. It's like, I keep saying I live like a millionaire on $400 a month. Well, it's getting harder and harder to be living like a millionaire on $400 a month. Between gas and food, I just, spent $200. And I bought, half a tank of gas. I got 6 gallons of gas. And, I got, let's see, celery and a few other vegetables. And, mushrooms that used to be $1.20 were now $5. It's like, what? So, but celery was still, a bundle of celery was still, 87 cents. So I bought 2 of those. So, that's how you roll, right? But I spent $200 on food and gas yesterday. And I didn't even fill my tank, So I'm on this side of town where the juice is cheaper, so I'm going to go ferret out that. Anyway, so if you want to send me something on PayPal, I would duly appreciate it. I know it's tough for everybody, but if you want to help your Sensei Al Bob out, send it to PayPal, thedudeawake42@gmail, thedudeawake42@gmail. Still works. Thank you, all those who have sent something. Like I said, I really only received about $180 this year on PayPal, right? Not like a fortune, but it's just enough to squeak me by, right? So, it's a beautiful day today, and really that is what we should be looking at, Every day and every way, we take the piece of the earth and we see it for what it is, something really beautiful, right? So, let's make a few phone calls. Let's see. I'm going to try Mr. Magic. He's now on a retreat and might be free to say hello. Okay, here we go. That's my middle name. So I'm on live chat. Can I put you on that, or don't you want to do that? Okay. Okay, sounds like a plan.
Maybe 15-20, you got me.
Yeah. So, how did your group go? Your
Well, he just dropped me off in Jackson Heights from the retreat. Just got home.
Oh.
It's great. It's really good.
Okay.
You're gonna get some ambient subway sound.
Well, it's New York, so that's understandable. So, did you guys do any silent meditation together?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, we don't do silent meditation. We do what's called, it's a combination of two-way prayer and what we call it's called Lectio Divina,
Ah,
where a passage is read from spiritual literature.
right.
We're sort of given a little guidance to use that. Then we go into a silent meditation and try to anchor our intention for the day.
Right, in that scripture.
Yes.
Right. Well, I was
So
doing
it's
that
great,
the same thing this weekend from Friday until now. I've been thinking of you guys and sending my love and
Good vibes, man. Thank you.
yeah. So,
How have you been? What's going on?
oh, same as it ever is. It's a beautiful day. I'm going to go get my eyes operated on this week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I might get my cataract taken care of. And I'm down in the little town having breakfast where I can make phone calls and go on the internet.
Yeah.
And so I've been talking about, it's pretty obvious, the world events, it's like same as it ever was, right? And, you and I are old enough to remember that this is just a repeat, right?
That is correct, sir.
I mean, it's very similar to what was going on in the 70s, the rebranding, the regrouping, and then we had, every 6 to 10 years, a calamity that would just put the power into smaller and smaller hands. The saving and loans collapse of 86, the, internet bubble of 90s, the whole thing. So it's just more the same, but it's becoming really, really obvious. The others weren't as obvious as this, meaning the powers that be are desperate. So that means they're not holding all the cards, right? So it's up to the folk to step up, right? And, I know the young folk are scared and they want to do something, but, and they're so easily manipulated. And so it's, what we need to be is our own deciders. So you had this group, and so how did you all do with that motif, being your own decider?
Well, I don't know. I think you might need to clarify that a little bit more.
Well, okay, so we here in the material world are kind of manipulated by convenience and belief, and we go along to get along. Whereas the real reason for here is to learn by experience, and that we need to make our own decisions, right?
Right. Well, okay. All right. Based off that and relating it to the retreat and perhaps how some of what I like to call them my tribe within the tribe,
right,
sort of operates. I'm not going to speak for the group entirely.
Right.
I'm going to speak for myself and what I've observed,
right,
and what I know of a 12-step way of life,
mm-hmm.
and how, at least in my view, and I feel a lot of the folks that I've seen to come across, these people in particular, we go with the maxim to be in the world but not of it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's really the simplest answer I can give you, how a lot of sort of what the events and political stuff that's going on.
I mean, they're more or less irrelevant, but the real relevancy is just what you said: to be in the world, but not of it.
That's the well.
Right.
You just said it. If that's the real relevance.
Right.
And the people that I gravitated to at this retreat were of that mind.
Right.
Some to a greater or lesser degree. Some could articulate the events that you're talking about
Right.
in a detached way.
But
Surely,
in essence, you shouldn't, because they have an effect, and they affect us all, and we're in this world, so it affects us. But we don't have to be of it, meaning the decision-making process doesn't have to be connected to that.
it could be. I mean, to kind of use modern parlance, you develop your own self-sovereignty.
Right.
And that comes from a deep spiritual roots within yourself that you can find through meditation.
And I
really asking, if you want to call it the true self, the higher power, the God within, that's where you're going to find the answers as far as how do I navigate the insanity of the sort of material realm.
Right.
Because you can't solve the spiritual problem with a material solution.
No.
It never works.
But conversely, you can solve the material situation with a spiritual solution.
That's kind of where I know I struggled with that understanding, and most do until they kind of, for whatever way, they're kind of initiated into that mindset. But I know if it wasn't for the catastrophes that I created in my own life that led me to this place of understanding.
Right. You wouldn't have understood.
Wouldn't have even been a consideration.
Right.
It would have been like, I just need a new job.
Right.
I just need this. I just need this. I just need that.
You'd just be another go along to get along mud puppet.
Well, I'd probably be dead. For a guy like me, that's those needs. If those needs become wants, desires, and obsessions, which 99% of the time they do, I'll be dead.
Right. They're a little more.
Now your average Joe, mildly miserable.
Right, mildly miserable. Yes. Right. So.
Or asleep.
Yes, and that's what I look at everyone's lives, no matter what their economic standard is that they're basically miserable, and their life is bleak, no matter what, And
they don't even understand that it's bleak.
Right.
It's sort of like a low level, sort of like something's wrong with the universe.
Right.
Like, no, nothing wrong with the universe. It's you,
right.
motherfucker.
Right.
But like any awakening, you can't force it on another person.
No. And that's why we have this circular motif of world events, is that we just keep staying on the merry-go-round until people start to get this, and
or not,
right, or not, right, or not, right. But at certain point, I mean, the real story is that at certain point, we will. It's just how long do we want to waste?
Well, maybe we already have in some ways.
Well, we know we have, because we've been around 1 million years. We've had lots of different civilizations that have come and gone, that have got it to a certain degree and didn't get it to a certain degree, and but
empires rise and fall.
Right, but on the real motif of the individual, you have to, my whole thing is to do your best. No matter what you're doing, if you do your best, things always work out.
That is correct.
Right? And you don't
That's
need,
it.
I mean, the worldview is basically that. Just do your best with love's co-creation, and it'll work out, right?
It will work out.
Yep. So that's where, and why we're in, being in the material world, but not being of it. We do that to be an example, for ourselves first, and then everybody else around us.
Yeah, it's a great service.
Right.
To stay committed to a spiritual path.
Right.
And people, not just I look at it like this. This is what somebody taught me, and I try to live by. Service to myself, service to God as I understand, and service to my fellow man.
I hope. Yep. And not to a religious business plan.
No.
No.
Although I identify as a Christian, I am not connected necessarily to organized.
Right. I mean, Christian is just a flavor of understanding. It's not so much the business plan. You know, if you called yourself a Roman Catholic or a Protestant or whatever, that would be more.
And that's another joy I really have with the people that I've been surrounding myself with. They're totally on board with what we're talking about.
Right.
I actually broached some stuff that I didn't think, normally I'm not going to. I'm not the kind of guy to be like, hey, what do you think about 9/11?
Right.
Although inside I'm kind of listening, if it hopefully comes up. And some of these folks, as I've kind of become more embraced by the group, they're very open about that. They're like, yeah, this is bullshit. I'm like, oh, okay. COVID's bullshit. Yep. I'm like, okay.
Yep.
So I'm like, cool.
Right. And
So
in the essence of all of this, all these things are real. There's a silver lining in everything that goes down. And like Donald Trump, his great blessing was, beyond a shadow of a doubt, he showed that all politicians are just sock puppet morons. That lie.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the curtain definitely has been pulled back more than ever.
Right. And so, but what has to happen is that the people, again, to go to the, to be in this world but not of it, people actually have to become aware of this and then set their moral compass to doing something other than just doing what you're told to do.
Well, there you go. But then again, that's an individual's journey.
Right, exactly. But it does have.
It can't be forced. It will never work if it's forced.
Oh, it can't be forced because then it's a fascist situation.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. Like a so-called good intending people will be like, I discovered how everything's going to work. And then you're not doing it right.
Right.
Then you're under the yoke of some kind of fucked up tyranny.
Right. Well, the German
that's
people
not
are.
my idea of a good time.
Right. The German people are a great example. They're one of the most idealistic, best educated people in Europe for the last, 600 years. And they're usually right in the middle of a real shitstorm, every time.
I was terrified when it was when Germany for the reunification, and not for the silly reasons that people, the Nazis. That's ass. No, but for really that reason, because that's a serious energy vortex.
Right.
And just curious as to what's really going to happen.
Well, my observation is this whole thing is an attempt to reset. And the two countries that are, the biggest threat to the global hegemony of the unipolar white man world is Japan and Germany. And they, the unipolar world needs those guys, but doesn't want them to do their thing. Because both those countries, once they get rolling, boy, it's hard to stop them. So, we dropped an atomic bomb on the Japanese, but they have more nuclear power plants than anybody else. They got more fissionable material. They could throw together nuclear weapons like in a weekend. They are the top dog of technology.
And a lot of people don't realize that most of the time, well, at least in the United States, it was you had people like you might remember her. Her name was Dr. Helen Caldicott.
Yeah, I know Helen pretty well. Yep, yep, I know her well.
Big part of the nuclear disarmament, and also revealed through finding the evidence was like, hey, these nuclear power plants, they're just a cover to make material for all the weapons.
Right. That's all. I mean, the Price-Anderson Act is just that. It gives utility.
Japan is more than capable of doing the same thing.
Right.
As is Iran and
the
others.
Yeah. and it's not a big deal. My sense of, again, it's all scripted and it's all coming from this unipolar, candidate that is losing control. After 2012, we stopped being the Piscean age of getting what you want through violence, and we became the Aquarian age, getting what you need through understanding. Now, the inertia of that Piscean age is, still amongst us and is, throwing us off the cliff. But the Aquarian age, that energy is life fulfilling. And so, if we were going to be toast, we would have been toast a long time ago. So that's my basic feeling that it's all working out, but I have to step up and do my little thing, whatever it is. That's why I do this show. That's why I talk to people. And that's why I try not to get disenchanted. I mean, I've been so involved politically for so long that I realized you can't get overly emotionally attached to the thing. Right?
Well, that's where it falls apart.
Right.
And that's one of the sort of mechanisms that are kind of built into the structure
Right.
of the divide and conquer.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you a great example of this. Not only Friday at my employment,
Right.
or Thursday rather, we had this training about diversity and inclusion.
Right.
Okay.
Which is a nice idea.
Training is going well.
Right.
I normally just kind of like, I have my views on how that can be manipulative and, who's really running the agenda here.
Yeah, right.
So I keep my mouth shut. It's a paycheck. I do what I need to do.
Right.
And then some of the people chimed in that they didn't like a particular video that was shown, and they gave a reason, and they used words like triggered, which makes me cringe, but
right.
They're entitled. It's a human being. They can
Right.
speak. But when I chimed in, I felt, I guess I got a little tapped spiritually speaking up. I just said, well, not to discount anybody's feelings or concerns. If we're going to learn from this, we need to kind of separate the emotions a little bit so that we can really see if we are causing harm or not. That's all I said. Probably a very banal comment.
Right. Right. And that's
when
not.
I got off,
yeah,
automatically
right.
in my head, the fear kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, they're going to come after me. Blah, 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 blah. Nothing happened.
Nothing.
It was all in my head.
Yes.
But you see, this is where, like, when we first started talking, I shared that, it's easy to externalize our own fear and say it's the man, it's the Illuminati.
Right.
I'm not saying that stuff doesn't exist.
Right.
But if I cannot confront the man or the Illuminati
Right.
or the forces within
Right.
the shadow
That's exactly
myself,
Right.
then it's not going to work.
Right. Exactly.
And that's what I was experiencing. I'm
Yeah.
grateful that I did speak up and say my truth or
Right.
whatever, term you want to put on it. But the immediate, when the fear kicked in, I was like, wow, this is really the domination and control that goes on in our world.
Yeah. We have
It's not even about other people. It's you.
Yes, it's the inner one. Right. And that's why my little tool of thinking with my heart and my gut, all those little guys in my GI tract, 8 billion little brains, a lot bigger than mine, and feeling with my head, meaning when someone says something annoying or mean, instead of like reacting emotionally, I go, why did that person say that? What's the problem here? How should I look at this? I think about it, right? Instead of getting emotional, and vice versa. When the thing that somebody wants you to use the textbook, I use my gut, and so.
Well, that's the whole idea of at least my goal or the purpose of recovery. And I'm not just talking about substance use or whatever. Recovery is
Right.
It's a general term, but everyone is recovering from something.
Right.
And
If you're a
born,
human being,
you're
you're
in some kind of trauma.
right.
You're recovering from that, and the goal of wholeness is to effectively or correctly using the intuition, or if you want to call it the will.
Right.
And that's part of my spiritual journey, just as anybody else who's on that path. And I bump up against stuff, but it's not stuff. It's my stuff. I'm bumping up against myself.
Right.
But against conditioning, behavioral stuff, childhood trauma, all kinds of stuff. But the purpose is move forward.
So, in your work, we're all our relations. We're all basically part of the same biological entity. So in your work, do you bring this subject matter up to the people you're working with, and how do they respond?
Well, I don't necessarily use those terms. I definitely believe you gotta quote unquote meet people where they're at. Some are more open to something like that. I don't necessarily think I would use a public forum like the one I described.
Right.
However, what I shared with you is just as valid as saying we're all one.
Right.
It's we are all one can be said differently, many different ways.
Yeah.
So that's usually If how am I contributing? Reminding myself and others we are all one.
Right. That's what I try to do. Is I use myself as the palette of the example. And I basically, when I'm a moron, I basically analyze it and look at it, and then tell people, hey, look, here's me being a moron. Here's what happened. How do you relate to that? Can you identify with that? What do you think? Right? So, that's where I go with that. So anyway,
that's the gift of the practice.
Right, exactly.
They like to use the Christian narrative. We identify with the Christ because he's human.
Right.
Because he could bleed.
Right.
Because he could get angry with his disciples.
Right.
He could cry out and say, "What's happening?"
Right.
As he's being crucified.
Right.
And then he can come to a place like, even though it's nails being driven into you,
right,
it's still my response to the nails.
Right.
Yep. And then it's like, okay, you know what? Mea culpa,
Yep. Yep.
For me and everybody else, and let's transcend.
Yep, let's transcend. And it's sad that we never got to read what Jesus really said, because I love that section of the Bible. Mark and the other guys write about it too. From the time of Easter Sunday to Good Friday, he rides in as the rock star. Everyone loves him. The rabbis and the Pharisees, oh, this guy's going to be great. He'll be our poster boy, blah, blah, blah. And, they say, oh, let's have lunch on Tuesday. He shows up, and they got the money changers in there, and he throws them out and gets really upset, right? And they go, oops, this guy, he's not going to work. He's like worse than John the Baptist. We got to get rid of him. And so they do. They make the big switch, give us Barabbas. And Jesus knows all this is going down. And he plays right to it, right? To the point where his best friend, the guy who turns him in for 30 pieces of silver.
Judas Iscariot.
Right. He tells Judas to go do it because it has to be done. And the only guy.
He has to serve his purpose. That's his purpose.
Right. And
do that. You have to betray him.
Right. And no one else would do it because Judas was his best friend and he understood. And Jesus said, yeah, people are going to hate you for the rest of the next big chunk of time, but I'll always love you, and that's what matters, right? And so he sends the two chuckleheads, I think Mark and John, to go make the arrangements for the Last Supper. And they go, no, that's the girls' work. And he says, no, I want you to go do it. I won't be here. You need to do this. You need to see how it's done, da-da-da. And they go whining and pissing and moaning all the way, and they bump into this guy, slave, goes, oh man, you with Jesus, that guy? I said, yeah. So, well, my master would love to see him. And his master was not a Christian, not a Jew, he was a total Pharisee, but he was so touched by Jesus, he turned over his house, right? And so, Jesus shows up last, and the slave and the owner have done everything. when Mark and what's his name didn't really do anything except bump into the slave. And then, you know, one of the things when you come have dinner, you wash up, right? And because it's dirty out there. And so Jesus comes and he washes the slaves' feet. And his boys get all upset with that, right? What are you doing? You know, that guy's a slave. And Jesus makes it, you know, no, he's one of us. You know, from the least to the highest, this guy is important. Anyway, so they have dinner, all that stuff that gets advertised. But the whole time, those boys are going, I'm more important. He loves me more. I'm going to be in charge when he's going. And the end of the show, they go out to the nice garden in the back of the house. And the burning bush shows up. And Jesus is talking to him. And he's trying to introduce the boys to the most holy maker of everything. And they fall asleep. And he gets really upset. He wakes them up. They fall asleep again. You know, by the third time, he's on the ground crying. Not that he's going to die. That's no big deal. But he's been doing it for these morons, right? And he goes into it in a big way. And when he rises again, and of course, the women are the ones who.
The women were the only ones throughout the entire the Stations of the Cross,
right,
to the death, to the resurrection.
Yep.
The only ones that saved.
Yep. Was the girls. And then they stayed with him after he died. And then were there when he showed up.
That's correct.
Right? And they went and told the boys, hey, he's back. And then he was there for 40 days, not just an afternoon. And he basically laid out how he wanted it. And that gets totally ignored. You don't even hear about that, those 40 days. Right?
Right.
And he didn't go up to heaven. He didn't go into the clouds. He walked up this hill with Mary Magdalene towards Paris. You know, he went to France and started the Merovingian.
The Merovingian bloodline.
Right. So, you know, it's sad that none of that. I mean, it's right there. It's pretty obvious. You can see it, but you know, it's what it is. So, but like I said, everything is becoming so right in our faces that people, but you know, like I talked to my sister and she does not want to wake up. And she has 6 kids who all have 6 kids. She has a big circus. They're all around her. And, you know, she's not, you know, she's just being Mary, you know, and I say, so what do you think about this? And she's in this, do you know where Red Bank is in New Jersey?
No.
Well, if you take the train, it takes an hour and a half to get there. If you take the road, it's almost 2 hours. But it's right at the mouth of the Hudson. Some smart guy, there was a little ferry. He bought the ferry, and he now has, you know, for 20 years, he takes the ferry to Wall Street and 34th Street. And so the rich guys can go from their nice houses right along the coast into Manhattan in less than 40 minutes, right? So it used to be it used to be a really toxic, you know, factory kind of place. And now, you know, all the rich people live there and they're living on top of the toxic waste. And so everybody's got cancer and it's also pretty and nice, but no one's aware of what's going on. And it's like every time I used to come visit her, and I used to do it a lot when I lived in New York City, it's amazing how they're just, you know, turned off. And that's what that whole concept of being woke is. It's like going deeper into sleep.
That is correct.
You know, instead of being awake, like Buddha said, you know, when the guy said, "Are you God?" He goes, "No." So what are you? I'm awake.
I'm awake.
Yes. So instead of being awake, and that's what Jesus was. All those lucky bastards were awake, right?
That is correct.
And they were awake all the time. They knew their 20 and their 360. They were aware of it all the friggin' time. You and I, maybe 20 to 40%, we can keep it up. Right. You know, enough to know. Right. Enough to know. And so, and we do our best. That's all we can do. We're not perfect. We can do our best. And that's what we do. And so that's what gives me hope. I mean, that's why
strive for perfection, although We are.
Well,
fallible creatures,
you do your
but
best.
you do it anyway.
Right.
That's the thing.
You
do it
can
anyway.
you can do your best.
Go for it.
Right.
Do your best.
Right.
Go for it.
Right.
But really go for it.
Right.
Don't
Don't try.
just go like, well, progress not perfection.
Right,
Yawn.
right,
You're boring.
Yeah. Right.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Go for it.
Everything you
I'm
do.
gonna fail. So
Yeah.
am I.
So am
but
I.
I go for it.
Right. Exactly.
Shit. You know how many things in my lifetime I fucking went for
Yes. Right.
and it failed?
Right.
Oh my god.
But you learned. See, I learned young. That failure wasn't bad. It was good. If you learn from that failure.
You learn from it. That's the thing.
Right.
You learn from it.
Right.
I didn't learn always. Now I'm getting a little better at the learning.
Yep.
Before it was just like, God, I must really like hurting myself. It's pretty good. And then it was like, no, I don't really like hurting myself anymore. I think I'll just learn.
Right.
Maybe not go there again.
Right.
That's
My
spiritual
body.
progression.
Yes, my body would react really intensely. So I didn't have a big curve of learning. I mean, bang, okay, I won't do that. It's like always hitting my thumb with a hammer, It's like, okay.
Yeah, I have a high threshold for self-imposed bullshit.
Right.
That's my problem. But it's getting better.
Yes, well, that's good. You're still here and you're getting better. So you're getting closer to home?
I'm at the halfway. I'll let you know.
Okay.
I'll try to wrap it in a very nice way.
Yes.
You gotta call. You gotta call after me. But
Oh, I got a
you gotta
list.
fill up the time.
Yes, I got a list. I have to go to little boy's room. So why don't you talk to the clan for about 2 minutes while I skip.
I can't, kind of.
You can't do it. You can't do a monologue.
Well,
You can't do a
I
monologue.
can chat a little bit and just maybe go. Hopefully,
Right.
how long you can? Actually, yeah, I can do that.
I'm at, no more than 2 or 3 minutes. I'll be right back.
Okay. All right.
I had too much
Well-
coffee. I had too much coffee.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, okay. Well, as Owl goes to the nest to relieve himself. Actually, you wouldn't shit where you live. So anyway, I do not wish to appear rude to whomever is listening. So if you are texting and stuff, I hope it's nice things. I cannot see them as I really need to pay attention as I'm walking in a congested urban area of Jackson Heights, Queens. I'm on Roosevelt Avenue. And for those who are not familiar with the area, weekends, a lot of foot traffic. So once again, I apologize. I'm appearing to ignore the message, if there are any. I think Bob would mention a lot of good points. He kind of keeps me on my toes. I appreciate it. We're very like-minded in some areas, actually most. I would say, if I was going to introduce myself, my name is Robert Barry. I am an artist. I go under the nomenclature of martyred artist. We have a YouTube and Facebook presence. Make collage artwork from sort of esoteric sources and kind of filter that through some pop cultural, religious iconography. And the idea of the work is sort of like a mandala, used for just aesthetically pleasing, but it can also be used for hopefully bring about an awakening of whatever person chooses to project into it. The symbols are very old, symbols are very ancient. They have a resonance to them, and it can definitely elicit something. I'm also somebody who identifies themselves as a person in recovery. I have a 12-step path, 15 years clean and sober. And part of my journey has been sort of adding or bringing in occult and religious systems, philosophies, magic, which might seem weird to people when I tell them I also identify as a Christian.
So what is magic? I'm back.
All right, he's back. So what is magic? That is a question. Well, you're going to get a lot of different answers by who you ask, so I'll give you my take on it.
Okay.
Answer, magic is the ability to transform oneself by transforming their consciousness.
Hmm.
However, there is a physical component to it, which once the individual's consciousness is changed, the ability to properly use one's will or intuition to manifest intention. That's it.
Yes, I would,
And
and
if
that's
you're
like
nice, you get
alchemy.
to eat a sandwich.
You know,
Yeah, it's alchemy.
it's alchemy. You know, I mean, we are. When they say changing lead into gold, we are the lead, and our spirit is the gold. You know,
That is correct.
you know, that is the motif. And magic to me, since I've been, you know, pretty much a technologist. You know, I have a lot of skill sets, but one of them is a technologist. And as a technologist, I've always been an artist. I've always been the aboriginal, the artist in the first person, the guy scraping the picture on the cave wall. And magic, I've always seen as just technology. It's, you know, one man's magic is another man's religion, and it's another man's technology. That's my kind of little
Yeah.
observation.
Well, I see that. I mean, why would you have, you know, rituals? That's technology.
Right.
Things that are being used in the ritual.
Yep, exactly. I mean,
And
that
Ron
was,
Hubbard knew that.
yes, when I was
And that's
in
why he even called it religious tech.
right, exactly. It's like an instruction book.
And he was an engineer by
Right.
trade.
Right, exactly.
A
Carpenter.
huckster by profession.
Right.
Good hustle, baby.
Yeah,
He's still making money and he's dead.
yeah, exactly. He's dead. I thought I was doing pretty good making money when I wasn't even there, but making money while you're dead, that's even better. I mean, that's like,
that's a good grift.
yeah, that's a good grip.
I get down with that one.
Yeah.
Shit. A hell of a lot better than selling bootleg Iron Maiden t-shirts.
Yes, exactly.
Which I've never done. Trying to be funny.
Oh.
Trying to be funny.
I had a girlfriend who was a real deadhead, and we did the Dead tour, and we used to make sand candles.
I remember those.
You know, and because we were driving along the coast of America, and we'd stop at beaches, and you could get, you know, if you went to the right kind of place, you could get like 50 pounds worth of candle wax for like $5 and a bunch of string. You know, it's pretty easy to make sand candles.
You put them in a jar.
Right.
It's fun.
Yeah.
I love those. It's very nice.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's the subject of the day. Things to come. Did you ever see or read H.G. Wells' novel? Just before World War II, he wrote this thing called Things to Come.
I saw the film of it.
Right, with Massey.
Which is fantastic.
Yes, in the 1920s. Yep.
Yeah.
And
art direction in that film is incredible.
yes, it was right along with Fritz Lang's a motif.
Metropolis.
Yeah, and
Sure.
and both those movies caught everything. Fritz Lang, when he made Gollum woman, you know, his perfect woman, you know, robot girl, you know.
Maybe it's a precursor to our next presidential candidate will be an AI.
Yes, right. And I mean, you know, we've, you know, since George Washington, we've always had, you know, sock puppet as you know, poster boy for it, but it's just getting more surreal as we go. You know?
Good old corpse teeth.
Yes, corpse.
Corpse teeth. When I got hip to that, I was like, ooh, yuck. But I was like, wow, these people really are ghoulish.
Yes, they really are ghoulish. Yep. Because I mean, you know, the only person who could have lost to Donald Trump was the dead body of Hillary Clinton, you know? And
That's what happened?
yeah, that's what happened. That's what we got. And
Running course.
and the person who should have really gone up against Donnie was Bernie, because he was filling up football stadiums with followers. But the one who I would have loved to seen, and I still hope will run for president against whoever, is Tazzy Gabbard.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, she is a congresswoman who, all during, she's from Hawaii, and she, was a state legislator, and then 9/11 happened, and she joined the army, and she was a hospital administrator in country, in Afghanistan and in Iraq, and she was out in the field, being Colonel Sherman Potter of MASH, and the whole time she was a congresswoman, she was still in uniform fighting in Iraq. And so she would come back and say, no, this is, what you're hearing from the Pentagon isn't what's going on. And she was really a straight up person. And she is very, I don't even know how to put it, but forceful, let's say that. She scares the crap out of guys, right? And so I would have loved to have seen her go up against Donald Trump. She would have eaten him alive, and that would have been great TV, So I hope they do that, but they're going to put some other sock puppet. I think the California moron, that guy is such a sleaze, Newman or Newham or moron or whatever that guy is, the governor of California. It's like, I mean, what a stupid. Democrats, they're the best loyal opposition because they just love to lose. Even when they win, they lose. And these are all, like I said, all of this stuff is like right in front of our face, and we don't do anything about it. It's like really.
Get back, watch the cartoons.
Yep, watch the cartoons. Yep.
That's what you got.
Yep.
It's the best show on earth.
Well, I don't know if it's the best show, but it's it's the best one we got at the moment. But yeah, so and it's just going to get weirder and weirder. I've been looking at statistics and about the death rate of the planet has gone up 16% in the last year.
Aren't you a real Cheerio?
Right, and not from
what
any.
About the life rate? What's the life rate, Bob?
The life rate, that's not doing too good. We haven't even been able to keep up.
How are we doing as far as replacing humans?
That's very bad.
All right, well, we got to work on that.
But the place
Tell
that's
the kids to fuck more.
and the place that does the best at that is Africa. See, if I was younger, I would go move to Africa because that has the most. I mean, they are starving those people to death. They are barbecuing them. They are having wars everywhere they can, and still those people are responding positively.
What do you mean those people, Bob? What are you trying to say?
Us, meaning.
I'm messing with you.
I know, but us, meaning.
But be careful because you're gonna.
Right, the audience might take it wrong.
They get funky, man.
Right, they get funky. So the when I say those people, I mean the all our relations, because everybody else.
Say our brothers and sisters who are being oppressed.
Right. So those people are me.
And they're us.
They're us, right.
Right.
Right. So
our siblings are dying.
Right, but
being murdered.
They're not just dying; they're being murdered. Now the others, the sock puppets, the white, meat puppets.
Meat fight, Bob.
Yeah.
Trying to say.
They're the ones who are dying in inordinate numbers by just keeling over, and they're not even dying of COVID. They're dying from a lack of spirit.
And a steady diet of Doritos.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I wonder if I can get this guy on. I wish I knew how to. Hold on a second, okay? Let's see. Hey there, handsome. Hey, Craig.
Hey.
Craig.
Yes.
I'm doing a live chat right now. How are you doing? You want to be part of the live chat?
But we got a couple minutes. It's up to you.
So your friend, she called me up, and I was supposed to meet her yesterday, and she was a no-show. I drove all the way to Boone and waited for
She's
her.
not my friend. I'm sorry that happened. She just said one other time I met her, we talked, and then she asked for your card. So
Right,
I really don't know her. I met her once
Right.
before.
Well, she's interesting in that she has potential, but the fact that she didn't just show up was that. So hey, can I call you back later after I do this? Because I got somebody
I'll
else.
be working, so we'll catch up in the next day or two.
Okay, sounds good. You doing
All
good?
right.
You doing good?
Yeah, I'm doing fantastically. Thank you. I hope you
Attaboy.
are.
Yeah.
Enjoy.
Okay, handsome.
All right.
Okay, bye. Oop. Okay, so we're back. Right, we're back. Mr. Magic, are you there? Are you there? Please wait. Are you there? Okay. The miracle of electronics is annoying.
All right.
But that was a guy who's a bartender who was really surly and mean and cruel. And I said, you don't have to be that way. And I ordained him as a minister of fun. And it kind of changed his whole life. So,
Absolutely.
so he's... And then we discussed that after about a year of being the minister of fun, because the etymology of fun is to distract yourself from what's important. So he changed that. So he's more a person of insight. So, but still as a bartender. So he's in a good place to do that. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We'll learn about the human condition.
Yeah.
Work.
Yep. So anyway, he's a good guy, and so I hadn't talked to him in a while, so I just wanted to. He called me, so I just wanted to flash on there. So anyway, but he sent me some. He sends me people, and he sent me somebody who was like a corporate person who had been an artist, and we had an interesting conversation. And I was supposed to meet up with her, and she didn't show. I went out of my way. I drove to Boone and waited in. There's a supermarket there that has a nice place to eat your sandwich, and I waited and waited. But they have Wi-Fi, and I did a lot of other things. And she just never even said, "Oh, I can't make it," or "Oh, I'll be late," or "Oh, any of the above. And that is a because energetically when I talked to her first, and it was quite interesting because my other phone that I let drag because it doesn't work as well as the one I'm talking to you on. But I only have 60 days. If I don't pay the money in 60 days, they erase the phone number and give it to somebody else. And I've had this forever. So every 60 days, I turn it back on. Anyway, so she just happened to call me. But she had my card and that had that number, and I had the ringer turned off, and I was talking, and I looked, and I saw it was ringing, so I picked it up, and there she was. So we had a very interesting conversation, and my skill set, I can do really good cold readings. I mean, even over the phone, I can do a cold reading and really get a sense of who that person is.
Right.
And so I saw, okay, this person is someone. Most people. I don't talk to everybody. I only talk to people who will get something from me. Otherwise, I'd just be talking to entertain myself, right? Right. So anyway, I said, well, this person has something here. And it was disappointing that she just kind of blew it off, right? And then when I went deeper into it, it said, she's not really ready. It's not a waste of my time. It would be a counterproductive thing. So, that's the way it is.
Time and a place.
Yeah, time and a place. Yeah. So, and, as a counselor, that's what we all have to deal with, because not everyone's always ready.
That is correct.
And,
And not always, what is being offered, it may not just even be appropriate.
Right, exactly.
At all.
Right.
And that can be a very, at least when you first experience that,
that can be a bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah, yeah.
But over time, it's kind of like it's just another thing.
It's
It's
just
just
another
another event, another. You know, you kind of take the sting out of it because don't take it personal.
Right. Well, that's one of the problems of
That's like a car mechanic
right,
being angry or full of self-doubt
right,
because I don't take their services. Dude, I never drove a car in my life.
right.
Doesn't mean anything.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Dude, get it together. Call your mom. I don't know what to tell you.
Right.
Don't drive.
Right.
Well, I'm worthless. You
Right.
know,
Right.
so
Right. No, right.
It's got nothing to do with you.
Yes, has nothing to do with
And
you.
that's what I need to look at it myself. you
Right.
know? And that was something early on in my training and just in life as a human being.
And like I said, almost right next to you. There it is. It's right next to you. It's right next to you. Now it's going away. The problem with medicine in general is that subject matter right there. You know, on every level of medicine. You know, it's that when they try to force whatever that is on you because they think they know better. You know.
Sure.
So,
Well, the mind and the body, you know, it's if the person's not even mentally open,
right.
The medications, the efficacy will be affected
Right.
by the person's attitude.
Right.
And if they're like, "Fuck this," yeah, more than likely, it might not work.
Right. Well, I'm talking about more the doctor and the practitioner, and that
Well, and also the idea that
they know better.
so-called Western medicine
Yeah.
is not always collaborative as it should be.
Right.
But then again, you said before, if you're awake,
Right.
you can't fool yourself again.
Right.
So then it's the person's responsibility. Hey, doc, I heard this holistic treatment. I want to do this. No, well, fuck you. I'm going to get another doctor.
Right. That was me. You know, and I did. You know, and I found the right doctors, and they took care of me, and I'm still alive without having to be operated on. You know?
A friend of mine was telling me, my friend's very combative. So I find his stories amusing. I live vicariously through them because I try not to be that myself. Although he was telling me, he just told his doctor, he's like, I'm done. Doctor couldn't even believe it. Like, he didn't even understand. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm the doctor. You're like,
Right.
You don't make a decision whether this relationship ends or not. He's like, no, I'm done. I'm like, look at you. He's like, look how unhealthy you are.
Right.
You're great before your time. Like, why would I? He just like kind of gave him a good dressing down, which I don't know was necessary, but I found it amusing nonetheless. He said, look at you. He's like, if I look, you don't even take care of yourself. Why do I want to be here? And he just left. He's just like, I'm done.
Right. Yep.
Well, and then also remember the AMA. Oh, cigarettes. They're good now.
Right.
You know.
Do you know the guy who
The same
started?
fuckers are telling you cigarettes are healthy.
Yes.
Are getting you strung out on oxycodone.
Right. Exactly.
They do not have your best interest
Interest
at
at heart.
heart. I'm not. That's a blanket statement.
Right.
But
The
you have to be aware
institution.
of that component.
There are good practitioners, but the institution has been corrupted. So that's the problem. Because they've turned it into a biz.
But then again, the onus is on the individual. Like, find the correct doctor.
Right.
But then again, through our culture, a lot of things are imposed,
Right.
and ignorance is imposed.
Right.
Like, what do you like? I didn't grow up like, oh, you have to choose a doctor. That's something I had to learn.
Right. Well, you have to be your own doctor. I mean, that's, doctor, heal thyself. They're talking to everyone has to be the doctor.
That's right.
Everyone has to be the doctor. You can't just cut yourself loose and say, "Oh, take care of me." I want no responsibility. My insurance will pay for it. I mean, that's what got us in the mess we're in.
That's correct. Well, and that's even in the mental health field too. I sought out some mental health help. Fortunately, I have some education regarding that,
Right.
and I picked and choose who I
Right.
wanted.
Right.
And I
Exactly.
found somebody that I'm working with that's perfect.
Right.
And
Exactly.
was it out of network? Yeah, it happened to be out of network. But you can haggle. You can haggle a price.
Right. Exactly.
And I got something that was affordable and good quality.
Right.
But guess what? Effort has to be made to
Right.
do those things.
Right.
And it's not a Herculean effort, but
No.
I think under the yoke of self-oppression, it can be, or it will appear to be,
Right.
seemingly.
Yep.
Be appropriate.
Right.
That's why Bob Marley, emancipate yourself from it.
Right.
That's what he's
Yep. Good old Bob. I like Jimmy Cliff too.
Yeah. It's okay.
Yep. I loved. You know where the reggae beat came from?
Well, from what I remember, I could be wrong. I just remember it had something to do with the way that they would get the radio signal.
You're getting close.
and
It's
that
technological. It's
and that-
technological. Yeah.
And that it was the way that the music was coming in. It was sort of choppy.
Right.
And they just like, they tried to emulate that in there with the guitar playing and drumming.
Well, that is part of it, but the other part is when electric guitars hit, everyone and their brother went and got themselves a Sears electric guitar and a 2-stroke generator because nobody had electricity out in the bush. And so the 2-stroke generator was the drum, and as the engine cycled, that was that sound of reggae, that in and out sound.
Oh, okay.
So that was, but it was both. The radio thing was a good deal of that because they were like listening to radio from, America,
Yeah.
They were coming across the Caribbean there, and they were, because the English, the BBC just, was playing stodgy crap, So
Right.
like that. That was almost reggae right there.
Yeah, yeah, I guess so.
Hmm. So you're going.
Getting close.
What's the
I'm
next?
now.
What's the next time you're going into play with your musician buddies?
Oh, I don't know.
Hmm.
I'll keep you posted on that. Probably Saturday.
Oh, okay. There you go.
We would have done it this week, but I was at the retreat.
Right.
And
Okay.
my knee was troubling me. It's doing a little better.
Okay.
I'm just doing what I would normally do. I still walk.
Right. So did you try the banana?
I've been eating bananas. I haven't been drinking that banana
Right.
stuff.
Right.
But I've been sleeping okay.
Okay. Good.
So
But it's also good for getting rid of pain and stress and muscles.
all right.
And arnica is a nice topical. Do you ever use arnica?
I heard David Icke talk about that years ago, and I've never used it.
It's you can buy it in almost any store, supermarkets, pharmacy.
Yeah, we got some Tiger Balm in the house. That helps.
Well, Tiger Balm is it's it's okay, but arnica goes deeper. It goes to the bone, so it's
Oh, nice.
yeah, so it's
All right. I'll give it a shot. But overall, just because I was around some positive
people,
environment,
right.
energy, it's not hurting as much.
Right.
And just my stubbornness. And it's like it's like one of those things. You just go about your day,
right.
and then you're like, oh shit, I forgot I was in pain.
Right,
Yeah.
right. That's, my meditation is what gets rid of mine. But when I had a freezer, when I had a refrigerator, I always had a bag of peas in there. And frozen peas on aching knees or bones is really good. And then a nice hot towel. The hot cold thing does a very nice job.
Okay.
And I used to have this really fun.
You know what my favorite pain remedy is?
What's that?
Not complaining.
Yes. Like
That's
I said,
the best pain remedy.
right, meditation. I don't think about it.
I tell people that all the time. Oh, weather, it's raining, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
You know what makes it worse? What?
Right.
Blame.
Yep.
Shut up.
Yep.
Shut up is a really good healing remedy.
Right. Yep. Don't whine. When I lived in
Stop
Ireland,
whining. Stop whining.
it rained all the time, but conversely, it was sunny all the time.
Well, there you go.
It's because it's this island out in the middle of the Atlantic, and on the west
Take
coast,
it when you can get it.
right? On the west coast, it's like being in the Caribbean, and on the east coast, it's like being in the North Sea, which is where it is. So, I lived on the west coast rather than the all the complainers lived on the East Coast of Ireland.
Yeah, that is the thing that we do.
Yes.
Try to break away from that.
Yes, exactly.
But then when you just realize that people don't like being around that,
Yeah.
kind of less inclined to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, handsome, I'm going to let you go,
All right.
and I'm going to wrap up here myself. And,
Okay.
and it was always good talking to you.
Yeah, man. Thanks. I was about 2 blocks away from my house.
Okay, there you go.
Works out well.
Yep. So,
Well, thank you, listeners, and thank you, Mr. Al Bob.
yep. Always my pleasure.
For this chat and the service that you do.
Right. Yep. I appreciate you too, Mr. Magic. I'll talk to you later. But that's my name of you on the show is Mr. Magic.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I told him martyred artist, but I'll take that.
Yeah. Martyred artist.
Just know where to send the check.
Yes, exactly. PayPal.
All right.
The Dude
Well,
Awake
take
42
care.
at Gmail. Okay, handsome. Later.
Bye, man. Bye-bye.
Yep. Okay. There we are. Well, there's no one listening. How long have we been on here? Oh, look at that. 1 hour and 11 minutes. Oh, and 11 seconds. So it's time to go. And I'll talk to you later. Okay. Here we go.